So we found out that Darcy had no heartbeat in October, on the 23rd of October, 2020. That was during COVID, so I had to attend all the scans by myself. And my husband was actually at work. He was an hour away. And the sonographer actually said, is there anyone that can come and join you to support you? So I mentioned Kate's name, just threw it out there, not thinking that she'd actually turn up. And she arrived outside the door. I heard her voice and I felt like everything was going to be okay. I heard her, she walked in, she wrapped her arms around me and she sat with me, she cried with me, she held me while we waited for my husband Dan to arrive. Last year, we got pregnant with our rainbow baby, Arthur. I remember texting Kate, I was terrified of what was ahead of me. I was so scared. And she saw me every week. She listened to heartbeats whenever I needed it. She reassured me that everything was going to be okay.
Laura always took the time to find out exactly what my preferences were, especially with my hypnobirthing choices, where I wanted to birth. I wanted to give birth at home. I went 22 days overdue, never once felt pressurised by her. If anything, she was telling me to listen to my body, it's okay, we'll give you extra monitoring, but you do what you want to do and I'll support you. She drove all the way to Bristol just to visit and make sure the baby and I were okay and see how I was. Which is, when you're in a very vulnerable state, someone familiar and that you trust turning up is wonderful. When the baby finally came out and was unresponsive, her training kicked in straight away. She was so incredible. To have that continuity, that relationship, that safe space, that trust, someone who's not going to judge you and takes the time to really understand exactly what you want. Yeah, and Laura does all that.
So I was running on adrenaline and it got to probably, I think, day 3, day 4, and I missed another treatment and Arwen left me a note and then she came to see me and I was like, oh my God, she's gonna come tell me off. And I was in a really, really bad mood because you got hormonal, whirlwind going on, and I was on my own because Kyle had gone to wash all of our clothes. And she sat me down and she said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm going down to breastfeed. And she said, yeah, but you're not well, you keep missing your treatments. And I was like, yeah, but I need to go down. And she said, but how are you meant to look after yourself and the baby at the same time? You need to concentrate on you and then you can look after your baby. If someone doesn't stop you and say, it's okay, and it's okay to feel how you're feeling, and just reassure you, you just feel terrible. And people forget that mothers have been through something massive. And I think she reminded me that I'd been through something massive. It wasn't just that my daughter was poorly, I was poorly.
So our nan went in to the frailty ward. Unfortunately, she was end of life, refused treatment, and they just was lovely, a lovely service, made our very big family all very welcome in the ward, made my nan very comfortable in a side room, and it just made her end of life a bit more easier and comforting for all of us.
She said how nice it was to have her hands and feet moisturised. She used to love us doing that for her, so for the staff to do that for her. And even, I know it sounds silly, even for somebody to just brush her hair, which on previous days on the ward, that was something that we would do for her when we came in, but they just thought of everything. And for me, as a nurse in the profession, that meant everything. All her needs were taken care of, which was really impressive. Yeah. I think she realised she was well cared for as well. because she was quite conscious for the first sort of 4 or 5 hours after withdrawing treatment, so she was really aware of the sort of care that she was getting.
At her last dying moments, we were all
We
there.
were all round her, so
bed,
that's what she would have wanted.
I was quite close to my dad, and you kind of, well, I did expect your parents to go on forever, I suppose. And of course, whenever all of a sudden we've gone from like my dad falling in the bath to 4 days later, I'm afraid your dad's like not going to leave hospital. And then 2 weeks after that, he just like passed away, and it's just like, you know?
You tried to grasp what was going to happen, but it was just too much to grasp.
Yeah.
And Asma was there like to hold your hand and just guide you through everything. So perfectly how they do it.
I didn't know there was Admiral nurses in the hospitals. So when Dawn put me in touch with Asma, she was an absolute godsend. Because you can't be at the hospital 24/7. And she'd go and sit with my dad, even if it was for 10, 15 minutes on, you know, when she was on shift, which was something that she didn't have to do. And us as a family, that was very much appreciated, because we knew then Dad wasn't on his own. And Asma was there. Asma's been there even after the funeral and everything. She's always said, if you ever need anything, you ever want to talk through anything, just message me or ring me.
One of the organisations who I was dealing with, and they'd said, well, you realise there's a specialist nurse who works at Gloucester Hospital, who I'm sure would be only too happy to visit Jerry if you can contact her. And I very much warmed to her because she was just so friendly. And when she was there with me and with Jerry, his eyes were lighting up. He said, oh, she's my friend, she's my friend. I said, well, I'm so pleased you've got a friend. And then he caught COVID, and so we couldn't visit. Asma then tells me, she said, I've come to see Jerry on his birthday, and I bought him a cake. And she thought I bought him a card. He can't possibly have a birthday without cake and a card. And honestly, that really, it still gets to me now when talking about it, because it was the kindest possible thing anybody could have done. And then after he died, she wasn't able to see him in Stroud. She sent me a text and asked me, would you mind if I came to Jerry's funeral? I'd like to come and say goodbye. And I was I'm so pleased and overwhelmed by her kindness.
She's dropped off flowers, she's supported Darcy with her birthdays.
Made our very big family all very welcome in the ward.
I think it's really hard to tell a new mum to focus on herself, and she managed to do that.
I'm so truly grateful to her for doing what she did.
She didn't worry me or stress me, she just saved my baby's life.
Just made her end of life a bit more easier and comforting for all of us.
And when you feel like you don't know what the right thing to do is and you feel a bit lost, you need someone to just take the reins of it and be powerful for you.
She was amazing. I just can't say enough about her. She was amazing for us as a family.
She was made to be a midwife.
She's one in a million. She's just so lovely.